People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, Nat, this is it.
Yep.
Episode 52, 1 year into it.
1 full year.
Can you believe it?
I know. I can't believe what it's gone into since one night you said, what happened? What do you think? We should do a podcast. And the next day, sit down with me. Let's do a podcast. I was like, what?
Guys, we got big things in the work, too. And after 1 year of doing our podcast, we've grown by leaps and bounds. We now have listeners in 28 different countries. I'm going to read this to you real fast. We have United States, Canada, Italy, United Kingdom, Ireland, Germany, Bangladesh, Australia, India, Malta, United Arab Emirates, Mexico, Finland, Belgium, Indonesia, France, Bermuda, Hungary, Thailand, Philippines, Ghana, Nepal, Portugal, Russia, Brazil, Greece, Sweden, and the Ukraine. If you're from any of those countries, thank you for listening. If you're from a new country, thanks for joining us. When I first started this podcast, man, I was begging my friends, like today's guest, hey, I'm doing this podcast. Will you please be on the podcast? Please, please. Now we have a waiting list of over 65 people waiting to get on, and I'm booked already through September. So those 65 people are going to be after September. So it's amazing. Our top downloads are like episodes 1 and 2 and our Fool Us episode. But after that, our number one guest download is, drum roll, can you do a drum roll? Vincent Mendoza.
Woo!
He's an awesome magician. He's likable. He was saying, how am I the most downloaded guest? I said, dude, it's your likability, man.
Absolutely.
I re-listened to the episode yesterday, and I was just smiling the whole time. Vince, I love you. The world loves you. What's up, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. I hope you guys are doing well, too. You know, when you told me, I was so surprised. I'm like, really?
Well, I know in all the 52 ones that we've done, yours is the one that sticks out in my mind as one of the most fun ones I've done. So that we've done the whole year. So I enjoyed it very much. So no pressure, but dude, just as good.
Oh, no pressure. Just like you, Wes, should not be putting on your foot. No pressure.
Good
Don't
job.
start with me, man. Don't
Thank
start.
you.
Golly. All right. Well, that was a fun episode. We'll see you next week. No, but here's the thing. Your likability, man. We love you. You're awesome. Either everybody likes you as much as we do, or you just have a big Filipino family and you just sent that link to all your friends and family.
That certainly is possible. The Filipino contingency is very supportive.
You know, hey, Philippines is on that list, man.
Yes. Yeah.
The other thing, we did an interview, a 2-part interview with an actress friend of mine, Lana. I want to say Lana Lang now, Lana Young, and she was in like a Marvel movie, that television show with I don't know the characters, man. One guy has the jewel in his eye. Help me, you know that stuff. He has a jewel in his forehead, right in his third eye.
Vision.
Vision. So what was that television show?
That was WandaVision.
She was on WandaVision, and she's done a lot of different stuff. But but her background, she is from Bermuda. And what's fun is, interviewing her, and then as soon as that interview goes out, boom, we have listeners in Bermuda now. And we've had listeners in Bermuda ever since. So it's neat to find statistics like that and just listen for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
one of the guys, there's a pretty strong Filipino magic community, and one of the guys from back home contacted me, and he wanted to do a podcast. So I was like, I'd love to do it. I mean, there are more famous people than me, but yeah, I'll talk. We'll sit there and we'll discuss it. So yeah, but it was a lot of fun, and I got to make friends with other Filipino magicians that I was not aware of, and like you said, the circle gets wider. The circle just keeps getting wider, which is great.
Now, when you say were you speaking in Filipino? I don't know the language. Is it Filipino?
Well, you call it Filipino. The national language is called Tagalog, Tagalog. That's the one that I speak. And it's funny because there are four of us in my family. I have three sisters, but I am the only one that can still speak it. They can understand it, but they can no longer speak it. And my level of speaking, I tell people it's like a sixth grade level. It's not,
Yeah, that's pretty good. If I could speak Spanish on a sixth grade level, I would be so proud of myself.
Yeah.
All right, so hello, my name is Vincent Mendoza. Can you give me a little taste?
Ang pangalan ko ay Vincent Mendoza. Yeah.
Hey,
Wow,
cool.
that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. So, you already did that podcast?
I'm sorry?
You already did that podcast for them?
Yeah. I did that a few, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah.
Was that the number one downloaded in the Philippines?
I don't know. I don't know that I can make the same claim over there. No.
Yeah. So, what's been going on? How was your lockdown? How was your COVID year?
Things have been, going pretty well. Shows have slowly started coming back. I've done a handful of live shows. It's funny because I had a couple of shows that were left over from just before lockdown, happened. They had already put in a deposit and they were worried that I wouldn't hold it. I'm like, no, you gave me a deposit, I'll hold the date.
Yeah.
You're there, and when it comes around, your deposit will still be good. So we got around to doing those, and it felt good to be in front of a live audience. And,
Oh man, does it? Yeah, it does.
yeah, just being there. I still haven't gotten around. I started kind of putting together a show for broadcast for Zoom and stuff like that. I just never got around to like completely finishing it. So I sort of have some equipment, but not really.
And at this point, I think people are going back to live anyway, so I don't think you missed much, honestly.
You might get a random call every once in a while, just a
Yeah,
company
maybe.
party wanting to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's easier for them just to do it from home and do it over Zoom. We had a company event, and they're still talking about it because one of our neighbors works at that company, and I think all of them work from home, so they really don't have a company to go to. They'd have to rent a location, so that's perfect for a Zoom event.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
So,
yeah.
But you had said something that about. I was listening to one of your other podcasts, but I remember you saying something about you recently did like a family reunion or something like that.
Well, there was a family show. That was our first Zoom show that we did. It was a family reunion, and which was cool because we had people from
Everywhere.
Yeah, from Virginia, from Vermont, from Georgia, and then we had Hawaii and like Montana. So it was really neat because even in a regular year of family reunion, it would cost so much for all those people to fly out, and somebody has to work, somebody has to do that, but.
Right.
To do it on a 7:00 on a Wednesday, everybody's off work and they were able to do it, so it was awesome.
That's good.
And then we stayed around and talked to them afterwards. They wanted to ask us about Fool Us, and they wanted to ask us about life after the pandemic and the twins and all that stuff. And then they all sat around and talked and did family reunion, just catching up. It was neat.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Good.
So did you work on anything new during the 2020?
Refining, some of the older magic. One of the things that I've become known for is my linking ring routine, I've talked with a few other people, over Zoom about it. Talked to other friends about it, and coming to the conclusion that I've got to actually release this to to the to the magic community. So one of the things I'm working on right now is getting it written up, to hopefully by the end of the year be able to share it with the magic community. The thing about it is finding somebody that can actually make the rings the way I want them made. It's nuts. I guess my criteria are too stringent.
Oh.
So who made yours now? Did you do it? You didn't do it yourself. I mean, are yours?
Well, what I did, okay, so I have the set that I use. I actually have a few sets, but I found a local metal worker, and I met with him, and I told him what I wanted, and he said, yeah, he could do it. So, we went back and forth. He made me some samples, and then I said, go ahead, and I asked him to make me 5 sets. So he went and he did that. The thing is, after we were done, and I didn't know anything about this, but since then I've learned this is actually something that happens to people that weld. But he contracted over the years some kind of lung disease because of the fumes that they inhale when they're welding.
Oh.
So he actually told me that he was like, this is going to be the last thing I make.
Oh, wow.
Because his doctors were like, if you weld anymore, you're gonna die. So you have to stop doing this. So this is the last thing. So he made them perfect. They're beautiful, but he can't make me anymore.
Yeah.
So which is his health is definitely much more important than the rings. And it's funny because like I've had other people make them, and I'll get samples back, and I'm like, oh man, I asked for this diameter. Why did they decide to use something smaller? Or it's
Yeah.
So can Murphy's or Penguin help you with that if you go with them, or they want the product complete before they take it?
I want to do it myself because I don't want the problem with going with the larger companies is you would have to sign over the rights to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So So what I'm looking at doing is maybe releasing just the routine itself. It's gotten a lot of good press. People that have seen the routine are like, that's not what anybody else is doing. That makes me feel good when I do it. And I was talking with some guys, Derek Chung, one of the guys. He runs a weekly Zoom session, and he was saying that a couple of my routines have been mentioned. They were talking about a couple of my routines, and the rings were one of them. And that some guys that have been out there have been looking at it, and it has inspired them to start working on the rings the way that I work on them. And I'm like, that makes me feel good.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. But he was like, you've the thing is now, people are working on them, so I'm like, I have to get mine out there before somebody else is like, oh, this is the routine I came up with, when it's not the routine they came up with. It was something that I did.
Yeah, you got to race them to the market. Well, please, for me and Steve Chesaday and the other 10 magicians in the whole wide world, please make a DVD of it. I hate digital downloads. I want to own it. I want to hold the disc.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
So
That's something, yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to do digital downloads because it costs them nothing, but a DVD really is only $1. I mean,
Right.
with packaging and everything, maybe $1.75. You're really not saving that much. And if you have old school people like me that want that in my collection, help me out, brother. Help me out.
Well, actually, I was thinking about putting a physical book together,
Okay,
So,
that's cool too.
yeah.
I'd take that. That's way better than a PDF. I hate to spend $20 on a PDF.
That's true.
I feel like I don't get anything. I'm getting the knowledge, but I don't know. It's something about it. I don't ever go back and look at PDFs.
Yeah, you're right.
But I do thumb through books.
It's stuff that one of the first things I ever put out was PDF of a rubber band thing that I came up with. I called it the Flirt manuscript because I called it Found Link, which was, a takeoff on Chris Kenner's Missing Link. So there were two things on it. There was a rubber band thing, and there was a ring effect. So it was a found link and ring thing. So the letters spelled out the word flirt. But I put that out as a PDF, and it was kind of goofy because I put that out as a PDF, and then like within a couple of weeks of me putting that out, somebody told me that it was on the torrent sites already.
Wow.
I was like, and the funny thing is, like, literally nobody knew me back then because I was just a guy in Jersey doing this thing. So.
All right, Natalie's looking at me. She said, "What's a torrent site?" I don't buy off torrent sites.
Yeah.
So she's like, she doesn't know what it is. I know of them because I have friends that do it, but I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Number one, it's not good for the community, for everybody, and number two.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about computers. I don't want viruses and crap or downloading something. I don't know, and I don't know, but I do want to support my friends. Yeah. So go ahead and tell her what a torrent site is.
Well, Natalie, it's basically it's a place where people pirate stuff. They sell stolen. Somebody will buy it, and then they'll start selling it for much less than, and it's kind of sad because you'll see, like big name stuff that, you would have paid, I don't know, $100 or what, well, like your effect. Okay.
Yep.
It's been done on national TV, and it definitely, is worth every penny that you ask for it. But something like that would go on a torrent site. They might be giving it away for free, or they might be charging like $1.50 for it.
Wow.
Yeah, there's $60 DVDs you can get for $3.99.
Yeah.
That's
But
sad.
you know what? They buy one $60 DVD, they rip it, they resell it on eBay, and then they sell that download forever for $3.99.
Yeah.
Right.
So they make their money back 1,000 times over,
That's
Yeah.
sad.
and the creator loses everything.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I sold that as a PDF, but like what you were saying, there's nothing physical. It's a file on the computer. So
Yeah.
over the years, I sold that I started selling that back in like 2005, 2006, something like that. I'll still get an email every now and then from somebody that, that's like, oh, I bought this from you way back then, but I lost my, computer, my hard drive. Is there any way for me to, and I'm like, just give me your email. I'll send you a copy of it.
Well, be careful saying that on the internet, man. Now everybody's going to say, I bought that back in 2005. Dude. All right, so here's the thing. That deal's no longer valid. Vince needs some money. We all went through 2020. Buy it from the dude. And that's another thing about you, man. We didn't talk about in your first podcast. And your first podcast was episode 13. So if you guys want to go back and listen to that, feel free. It's awesome. But your rubber band work is pretty awesome. You really do good rubber bands, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's funny because Joe Reinfleisch has become a really good friend, and he's actually one of the reasons why I got back into. I had stepped out of magic for a little while. Life happened, and I was just doing other stuff. And then one night, a friend was like, "Oh, there's this guy lecturing. He likes to do rubber band stuff." And I had just started looking at rubber band stuff again, so I was like, "You know what? Let me go check this out." And I went to his lecture. It was great. And then, I started showing him some of the stuff that I was doing. And it's funny because he kind of pushed me to do better. That Flirt manuscript that I told you about, there was, the effect is I link two rubber bands together, and then I take them apart. So that was what it was. But he was looking at it, and he's like, it looks great when they come together. It looks great when they're together. Because, but when you take them apart, that looks like crap. You know?
Oh wow. Yeah.
So he's like, if you're gonna make, you know, the beginning of it look good, the middle of it look good, he's like, you've got to find a way to make the end where they come apart. You've got to find a way to make that look good, you know. So I knew he was right, you know. So I went back to the drawing board and I played around with it, and I came up with an ending where, you know, you see one rubber band hanging from the other, and then it looks like you literally see the other rubber band just plucked off, right? You know, right through it. So I was like, thank you for pushing me, because if you hadn't pushed me, I might never come up with that. Yeah.
And that's a real problem with the magic, you know, clubs, because you know, some guy will come up there and do a 20-minute patter and do a double lift trick, and that's it. And everybody says, "Oh, very well done, you know, Bob. You did really good." But if they said, "Really, 20 minutes?" Nobody's going to sit through that, Bob. Bob, you need to go back to the drawing board. You need to. Nobody wants to say that, and I think that's what's hurting. But when they do say that, you're a big jerk.
It's yeah.
But
well, I mean, that's why we need, you know, close enough friends.
Yes.
That will hold our feet to the fire. You know.
Well, and that's one of the things that, you know, drives me crazy in the magic clubs is people come in there with 2 decks to do a magic trick that you only need 1 deck for, and it's pocket management. And I'm like, I can't do that at a close-up gig. I'm not bringing 2 decks out for that just because the card matches. There's a million different things you can do that, man.
Right.
And then 20-minute patter, people aren't going to sit there in a walk-around gig for 20 minutes, much less a restaurant or anything else.
Yeah. You've got to give him magic pretty quickly. You got to set things up. You know, get him in the frame of mind. You know, in the direction that you want to go. Yeah, because one of the things, you know, I was comparing it. I was trying to compare it to poetry. You know, I was like, you can write free verse where you can just write, you know, page after page of a poem. You know, or you can write a haiku. And, you know, that is 5 lines, and you've got to get your idea across in those lines. You know, you're in the structure, and you've got to be able to get your thoughts and your ideas across that quickly. You know, it's got to be tight.
Right.
So, you know, and I mean, sometimes you can go longer with stuff, depending on what you're doing, but most times, especially in today's world where, you know, how long is a TikTok video nowadays? Yeah.
Yeah, people's attention spans are so short.
Yeah, absolutely.
And right now, I mean, unless I'm doing a wedding or doing strolling only, a lot of mine is at resorts, and I get hired to do close-up magic really as a way to get people to my show. So they're paying me to advertise. So I'm like, this is nothing. If you like this, wait till you see the show tonight. I have the doves and rabbits in my hotel room. I'm going to make my wife levitate. I'll put her in a box. She vanishes, reappear in the back of the audience. Here's my flyer for the TV show and podcast, and see you tonight. I mean, I have to go because I have to go walk the entire resort in 2 hours. So I'm only doing 2 tricks per guest.
Yeah, but you get them hooked.
I'm just giving them a taste because I want them to come to the show that night, and I want to hit as many people as I can.
Right.
Long Beach Mystics. I was sitting here trying to figure out the name. Do you know the story about them?
Which story?
They were just hard on each other. So it was oh man, I can't think of everybody's name now. I know Kevin James was in it, and Mark Halen and Ginger, and maybe Rick Thomas. I can't remember. But all of these famous, awesome, hardworking, great magicians, and they would do their stuff, and they would tear each other apart to make it perfect. But they could take criticism, and they could give criticism, and it made them all amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely important to, you know, to be able to take that. I remember, you know, back in the day when Rocco first came out. All right. Every magician wanted to be like Rocco.
I know I did.
Yeah.
That was my first lecture I ever saw, man, like 1994.
Wow. Yeah. But, you know, I mean, that's the thing that you wanted to emulate. I wanted to do that too. So I started putting together an act that was like that. And one of the older guys locally, here took me aside and was like, Vince, why don't you watch yourself in the mirror while you're doing this? He goes, and like really look at yourself in that mirror.
You're not Rocco.
He
You're blowing glitter off your shoulder. That's not you, Vince.
That's not, basically it was like, you look, I mean, yeah. So, it was a hard lesson, but it was, it was one that luckily I understood and I didn't take offense to,
Well, one of my favorite memories in show business over my career was we actually, when I was with Natalie, was it like our first year together?
We were engaged, I think.
We called Rocco and said, hey, look, we want to take lessons from you. How much would you charge? That's it? We're there. And he taught Natalie and I hands-on in D-Light Studios, which was, a warehouse of manipulation cards, kabuki streamers, thumb tips. He was doing Slidini stuff, and he was doing, cigarettes and sleeving. And, Natalie and I both had, suit jackets, and he was teaching us both sleeving. And we had a blast. It was so awesome. And one of the things Rocco was criticized for on the Celebracadabra thing was saying that the girl couldn't do magic. But it was edited weird. What he was trying to say is, you don't have the right kind of clothes. Your jacket sleeve is too tight. But he didn't want to reveal his secrets on national television. So the girl took offense to it.
Yeah.
But Natalie had it was like a man's sports coat to practice with.
Yeah.
And we had it customized to fit her and everything. And Natalie was crazy, dude. I was going to bed at midnight, and she was up till 2 or 3 because she wanted to impress Rocco the next day.
I wanted to get it perfect. Darn it. If I'm going to do it, I want it to look good. I don't want it to look bad.
So Rocco was really impressed with her. It was awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that was a fun week, man. We went up to Paterson, New Jersey, and I haven't been back since.
That's where he was from, Paterson, New Jersey.
So here's the thing, though. As far as you, how did you end up in New Jersey? Your parents in the Philippines, you end up in Canada, and end up in New Jersey?
It was, it's sort of like an army brat story, although I'm not an army brat. I mean, I bounced around an awful lot. So we left the Philippines. The Philippines, actually leaving Philippines is a funny story too. When I was born, my aunt, who was abroad in Canada, sent a care package back to my mom. Bottles and formula, stuff like that. But back then they didn't have bubble wrap or popcorn, for packing and stuff like that. People used newspapers,
right?
The stuff. So when my mom was unpacking things, she started looking through the newspaper. And she started reading the newspapers that were in there, and there was an article in the paper that was in there about Lester B. Peterson, who at the time was the Prime Minister of Canada. So she found all the pieces to this newspaper, read about Lester B. Peterson, and decided to write him a letter. So she just, wrote him a letter. Hello, I'm so-and-so in the Philippines. You're doing a good job. I've just had a baby. It was just, just talking to him and not really asking him anything. Wouldn't you know it, a few weeks later, a letter comes in the mail, and not like a form letter, but a handwritten letter. And it's from the Prime Minister of Canada.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And he responds to her, and my mother, the way she explains it, she's like, I think he was just intrigued that, he got this letter and, I wasn't asking for anything, for any favors or anything like that. So he wrote her back, and they actually ended up becoming like pen pals. They wrote back, 6 or 7 letters back and forth. And the last letter basically was like, told my mom, was like, if you want to move your family from the Philippines, just go down to the Canadian consulate and show them this letter and say the prime minister says, yeah, come on in. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it's funny. So I tell people now, I was like, when you fly into Toronto, the airport you land in, which is Lester B. Pearson Airport, is my mom's pen pal. Was my mom's pen pal.
That is crazy, man. That is awesome.
That is
So you
really
guys
cool,
didn't have to
yeah.
wait in lines or anything. I mean, you got a direct in, just boom, right there.
So we ended up moving to Canada. But we had family here in the States and everything. The original plan was to move to the States. We had applied for 2 visas, one for Canada, one for the States. So the one for Canada went through first. And while we were there, we were waiting to come here. We had family in different places. One of the other options would have been Louisiana, Florida, Alaska, or New Jersey. We moved here. My dad had his sister here, my aunt is here in New Jersey. So we moved here, and we've been here ever since. And actually, I think it was a great, magic-wise, for me, it was fantastic because I'm like, half an hour from New York City.
Yeah.
So if any big name was coming through, they were a stone's throw away, and I could get to see them, So
Yeah, how different life would have turned out if you had to move somewhere that wasn't New Jersey.
yeah. That's
Would you
true.
even have gotten into magic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be like me right
Weird.
now, just fantasizing about all the shows you've seen. I'm in Virginia, man. I get Copperfield every 10 years. That was my only show I got to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. That's awesome. But I mean, there's a big magic going on in Jersey and Philly and New York, and lots of groups and lots of cliques, and
Absolutely.
I'm the only full-time magician in 2 clubs, and both clubs are an hour away from me. I mean, it's so different, so different.
But you're making it work, though. I mean, a lot of us are. I still haven't transitioned to full time.
Which is surprising to me. Come on, dude, get off your butt. Let's go. What can I do? I'll help you. Whatever I could do. I'll tell everybody right now on the podcast. Hire Vince. Vince is lovable. He's the most downloaded podcast. He's lovable. The dude is awesome. He's awesome with the linking rings. He's awesome with rubber bands. He's awesome. I was just Googling your name to see about a website or something for tonight, and it came across a cafe article. And I don't know if you've Googled your own name and cafe stuff comes up. Usually that's negative. But for Vince, he couldn't be a nicer guy. He's always contributing kind things to people and great. I mean, even on the cafe where people are brutal, on the forums, on the website forums, dude, everybody loves you, man.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah.
There are a few people that don't like me that much. There was an incident that happened actually, with some guys at the cafe. It just got all sorts of complicated. One of the first things when I was asked to what was it? I think it was Illusionists. They asked when they were doing the social media. They were building up their social media. They were getting to like 100,000 members or whatever. And they came to me and they were like, "Listen, do you have anything that you could, release through us? And we could, they were looking for something that they would just give away to their people once they hit 100,000. So I was like, well, I have this one thing. I was like, I could never really sell it because it doesn't work 100% of the time. But when it works, it looks really good. But I'm just telling you right now, it doesn't work 100% of the time. I've never gotten it to work 100% of the time. So basically what it is you put down a folded bill, and, as you're looking at it, this thing starts to open itself up, all right? It's ungimmicked. It was something I called Blossom. And I had talked, one of the guys on the cafe from India, a magician there, he and I had talked, we had emailed back and forth, because he was doing something similar, where he was. So we communicated back and forth in this, and I told the guys at Illusionist that this other guy was also working on this. So, anyways, make a long story short, we went to Philly. We were filming stuff together. They decided to film a second series of things at the same time, and the person that they brought in that they were filming that with, they couldn't get things together technically, and stuff like that. So it was just the day was just dragging on, and everybody was kind of tired. And towards the end of it, they were like, Vince, let's see if we can do your stuff. So I'm like, okay, so let's do my stuff. And since we were kind of under pressure, I wasn't thinking as clearly as I should have been. I told them about these people that they should have contacted, that should have been credited, that all these things should have happened, but they didn't include any of that with the filming and with the download, and then they started releasing this, and it turns out that at the same time there was another magician, what's his name, Anthony no, that's not it, I can't remember now. But from Vancouver at the time. But he had a trick out that was sort of similar, and he claimed that I had stolen his thing, and I'm like, I tried to explain that it was totally different. So, anyways, it turned out that it ended up getting pulled because of all the controversy that was going on behind it, which is kind of goofy, like the politics that happens like that.
Yeah.
And then this guy from India who I had been friends with, and I tried to explain to him, what went down, and I was sorry and all that. He ended up hating my guts because he was like, you just stole this from me. I'm like, but I didn't steal it from you. I'm trying to explain to you that, all this stuff happened, but... So,
well, here's the thing, though, Vince. I mean, stuff happens, and, in the heat of the moment, and you not crediting them, but Illusionist didn't help you with credits either. It did get pulled. It's not like you're still trying to sell, and you didn't even make money on it. It wasn't even like that.
I never made any money on it.
And you're not a repeat offender.
So
that's the main thing. There are people in this industry that have name of being a repeat offender over and over and over for stealing ideas and putting out products and just beating other people to the market with something that they've been shown. Yeah. So you're awesome. Don't worry about that. So when you got out of magic, you said it was just life. Was it were you burnt out? I got burned out on magic. I was working in a magic shop, and it was just card trick after card trick after card trick coming in, and I had to learn 20 new card tricks a week, and I got burned out. What was your deal?
This part sounds like horrible, but okay. At the time, I really just got disenchanted with it.
Yeah.
It just, I'm like, things aren't going the way I want them to be going. I have to grow up and become an adult. I have to, and that's, actually the funny thing is, and I tell people this now, and when they ask me why I still do magic, I was like, life is hard, and throughout life, we've had to give up a lot of dreams. Dreams of at one point I wanted to be an artist. At one point I wanted to be a musician. And so I've let go of a bunch of dreams. And at one point I almost let go of magic also. But now I'm like, you know what? This is the one thing I'm not gonna let go of.
Well, God bless you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, this is the one thing I'm gonna. It just holds a special place for me. So I went back to it, and I'm like, this is what I love doing. It makes me happy, and I enjoy making other people happy with it. So yeah.
Well, this brings me to the Wonderment show, man. Tell me about Wonderment. Your show is titled Wonderment. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Thank you. It's basically it's a trip down how I got into magic, and it's funny because like we all have origin stories, right?
Yeah.
And usually it's a family member, showed us magic, whatever. But in my case, I like to tell people that for me, magic was a religious experience. Like I told you earlier, I've got three sisters. There's four of us, and we're all a year apart from each other. So if I was like 8 years old, it would have been 8, 7, 6, 5. We're all like just a year apart. So we ran around as a gang growing up, and always kept my mother busy. So she was looking for, things to occupy us. Now, people come knocking on the doors, like Jehovah's Witnesses, all right? Most people turn them away. My mother would use them as babysitters.
That's great.
And my mother would be like, come on in and sit with the children for an hour or two.
We have 9-month-old twins. We're taking notes.
Yeah.
but it's what you did, and they would occupy us for a couple of hours, and she had time to do whatever she needed to do during the day, and she would say, they're God's people, hey, they're God's people, it doesn't matter. And she was an equal opportunist. Okay, so like Jehovah's Witnesses would come. They don't really believe in magic, but Mormons would come also. And she was an equal opportunity letter inner. she would let the Mormons in, and I had a hard time wrapping my head around the whole Mormon thing, because it was a golden book that and they can't find the book now. It was given, anyways. But what they would do was. Elder Black, one of the elders there, started showing me magic tricks to keep me interested. And the very first thing he did was he put a penny. I remember this. He put a penny in one hand. He closed both his hands, and he was like, "Which hand is the penny in?" So I pointed to the one I just saw it at, and he was like, "No." And he opened it, and it was in the other hand. And I just sat there staring at him, going, "How did that happen?" So he was like, "Well, if you can figure it out, by the time I come back next week, this became a thing." So I worked on that for a week. He came back, and I showed him what I thought he did, and he was like, "You're really close." So he started teaching me magic tricks.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you remember his name?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
He was one of his babysitters.
Absolutely. But it just I use that as a story, and then getting in trouble in school because of I went to a Catholic I went to Catholic school, so you're not allowed to have cards with you or whatever, but I would, because I was doing magic, and they thought it was you're gambling with it. I'm like, no, I'm practicing magic. So I would have to prove that, under threat of being put under detention, I would have to do a magic trick for.
So you did a 10-card poker deal.
So, so it was funny. Like, no, I'm not gambling. I'm doing. See, look, here, pick a card. It's got,
Wow.
So, but it's funny. So, I mean, it's a series of stories about that. And just, things about life. What I did, or the concept that I had in my head was, I don't know if you remember, like, early John Leguizamo shows, where he was just telling stories and acting them out about his life. And, and there would be some kind of moral or some kind of thing, that was attached. But it would be a one-man play, basically.
Okay.
So, basically, Wonderment is a one-man play about my life. I tell stories about me, my family, and all that, and use magic as a vehicle to enhance the experience. It's funny. One of the things that I do in it is an escape, and the story that I tell about that is, I went through a phase where I did escapes, but I didn't know anything about how it was actually done. I would just wriggle out of things at the time. So I would walk up to people and be like, tie me up with this rope. And, they would, and I would get out of it. So one day after school, the guys were like, my friends were like, can you get our bike chains? So I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, I should be able to get our bike chains. That's not a problem. So after school, we walked to to our bikes. They took their chains, and they chained me to the bike rack.
Oh, dear. Oh.
So they were standing around, and, I start trying to get out of these chains, and they're cheering me on. And after about 15 minutes, they start getting bored because
Oh, man. Oh, gosh.
And then, one guy's like, hey, listen, I got to go because my mom is waiting for me. I'll come back after dinner.
Oh, no.
See, so one by one, they peeled off. Everybody left. I'm sitting here chained to this damn bike rack.
Gosh, Vince.
It took me like another 40 minutes to wriggle out of them. My wrists are torn up and everything, but I did get out. I did manage to get out.
Yeah, but nobody was there to see it at that point.
No, but nobody was there. Yeah, nobody was there to see it. Yeah.
Oh, man. I want to see a cartoon of this. I want to see little Vince getting in trouble. This ought to be a cartoon show. I see it. That would be so great.
Sort of like the thing with Howie Mandel, little Bobby.
Yeah, and having your mom just have strangers babysit you guys, and really confuse you about religion because you're hearing all kinds of stuff. Magic's bad, but these people love magic, and you can't even have cards when you go to church. Golly.
So, yeah, but I mean, it's been a little while since I've done it, and it's funny because all the time I've been in magic, I never did like a full one-man show. I do sets, I do but this was it's 2 acts, and both acts are about 45 minutes apiece. There's an intermission in the middle of it, so it's a good hour and a half.
Now, were you doing it in black box theaters, or were you doing it like in a hotel ballroom, or what?
No, I was doing it in black box theaters. There are a couple black I can't even say it. Black box theaters that I had done it with. But I was thinking about maybe doing it in a hotel ballroom. Renting out a room for for what do we call it? Four-walling it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
I want to come see it.
Oh, you're more than absolutely, yeah. Let me know.
And when you rent this room, you let us know, and we'll promote it on the podcast. We'll try to get as many people out there as we can. That was one of my questions next. I was going to ask you about a disaster story or a funny story, but you chained to a bike rack and then getting out after everybody's already left. I think you already covered that. That was my next question for you. Do you know about Houdini and the horse?
Houdini and the horse? No.
He was tied to a horse, and he said he would escape. And they said, "All right, go." And they slapped the horse on the butt, and the horse took off. So while he's galloping and his head's hitting the horse, the horse was a mile away before Houdini escaped. So all the people were there, the reporters and everything were sitting, and I'm just making it up, in front of the courthouse. But the horse was a mile away before Houdini escaped, so nobody saw it. That's what the first thing I thought of when you get tied to the bike rack and everybody's gone home and had dinner.
Well, when they come back to check on them, at least all they see is bike chains.
There you go. There you go.
But I also did get back at all of those guys.
So, as far as the Magic Circle, I know they're doing a lot online now, and you're now a member. Are you keeping up and doing the online stuff?
I check out stuff every now and then. They've had they do I guess like a weekly. It's like a TV show kind of thing, the Magic Circle TV. And I guess they have interviews, and they go through some of the history of local magicians and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool that that they keep everything. They keep everything moving, And also on this side, we've got the I guess the castle is opening up again.
Yeah.
So they're starting to do live shows there. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Hopefully we move towards, back to normal. Yeah.
Well, see, Virginia feels back to normal. We had a busy weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4th of July weekend. And I did one school show, and they had me wear a mask because it was a private school owned by a corporation in California. But Virginia laws, you don't need a mask anymore.
Right.
And the rest of the shows, I mean, our resort shows, I was doing close-up magic. There was no protocol. There was no nothing. We're wide open. Okay. But MAES is booked for September, and they're saying that we can't do the hospitality suite because of capacity and too many people in the room. So New Jersey's definitely different than Virginia and Maryland now. So
yeah, I was just getting ready to ask you if you're coming up for MAES.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It'll be definitely good to, even if it can't be 100% the way it was, it'll be good to, just be around people who you haven't seen in forever,
Well, I was on a Zoom call with D'Souza and some other people the other day, and Natalie came up with the idea. She said, well, they don't have a hospitality suite. Why can't you just go back into the ballroom that you're doing lectures in all day, and you guys hang out and let your hair down? And I asked, the guys in the committee, and they said that we have to be out of that room by 12 midnight because the people have to replenish the, fix the chairs and vacuum and do their thing. So we're not actually allowed to be in there after 12.
I see.
But they'd rather have us in the lobby making noise and in the bar than having us secluded to a place and, whatever. The rules are rules.
Yeah.
Are you guys still wearing masks up there as well?
It's more of like a personal choice kind of thing now.
Okay.
Sometimes, I'll keep a mask on me, so if I walk into a place and I look around and, everybody's got a mask on, I'll throw the mask on.
Yeah.
Some places you walk into and everybody's, just fine doing their own thing,
Yeah.
So it's more of, but it feels more relaxed,
That's good. It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. I know when they dropped the mask mandate here in Virginia, it was so nice. I was like, yay!
Natalie actually has a breathing issue. She could pass out trying to breathe hot air through. And the doctor gave her a note. It's called vocal cord dysfunction.
Yeah.
But he said, you guys are, I'm not saying celebrities,
eye.
But we're in the public eye and people know us.
Right.
And if she pulls out that card, everybody's going to think she's a big jerk. We're jerks, and we're going to get a bad name. So here's your note. But
try not to use it.
Yeah, try not to use it.
Yeah, and I didn't use it, but I wanted it in case, because at that time I was very pregnant with twins, and I was like, I would rather look like a jerk in front of some people if I felt like I was going to pass out than pass out while I'm pregnant. So yeah, but I didn't end up having to use it, so that was good.
Okay.
But, yeah. But not having to worry about it anymore is such a relief. It's so nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's scary because like you're hearing things with the what do they call it, the Delta variant. They're like, oh, we're getting spikes with that. So I'm just like, but isn't that, hasn't that been around? Hasn't that been around for?
Dude, I don't even watch the news. I can't keep up with it. And this, he said, she said. One news station is the best in news, and they say one thing, and the other is 100% against it. And it's like, you don't know who to listen to. And do you go somewhere in the middle, or do you go left? Do you go right? What do you do? Where do you turn to? Who do you listen to? Everybody's an idiot according to the other side, and it's like,
yeah,
it gets crazy.
I'm done. I can't do it. I told a friend of mine today, I have life to live. I don't want to get sucked into that minutia. And some people say all that minutia is just to sell advertising. You know how much advertising the news got during the pandemic? They made millions.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I had, I work with, during the day, I work with the developmentally disabled. So part of the thing, unfortunately, with with they have compromised immune systems, and because of the pandemic, we lost a few of the guys that we work with, which was really sad. And one of the guys that I personally used to work with all the time, unfortunately, he passed also. But it would get really scary because we're working with these guys. One of the guys I remember one time he started going to a coughing fit, so I got down in front of him and I'm looking in his face to see if something is caught in his throat, if he's choking or whatever, and he literally just spit up all over me.
Oh goodness.
And it turned out later that day that he got tested and he came back positive.
Oh goodness.
So I was freaking out because I was like, he spit all over my face.
Right. Yeah.
I had already had contracted COVID a few months earlier, but I was like, now I've been re-exposed to it. I don't, luckily I didn't recontract it, but it scared the heck out of me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Wow.
I had to get myself tested, so for a couple of days. And then, when I've gone ahead and gotten the vaccines because of what I work. And it's funny because I tell people, it makes me laugh because, when you think about getting a vaccine, you have this picture in your head that, you walk into this office and it's, this sterile atmosphere and whatever, everything is nice and clean and whatever. But where they set up my vaccine was at in the garden section of a Walmart.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
You got a little roundup.
I'm telling you, I was like, there are bags of horse manure right and you guys are giving out vaccines as people are walking by, and I was just like, oh, this is crazy. But and then all you do afterwards is I have friends up in Canada. They're keeping track of everybody that gets a vaccine, so it goes into a centralized database, so that they can keep track of who has a vaccine and who doesn't. Over here, we're not doing that. We get a little piece of paper.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one of one of the problems of talking about visiting friends up and family up in Canada is they're very hesitant about opening the border because they're like, yeah, well, anybody can just show a piece of paper that says they got a vaccine, versus going into a database going, okay, yeah, we know that this person got a vaccine.
Yeah, right.
So,
Dude.
yeah, so it's nuts, so, and hopefully we get to the point where we get herd immunity and, we can get past this.
Absolutely.
All this,
Well, I mean, at least you had a job with the people. I mean, we were unemployed. So 2020 was awful for us, and that's the reason we started this thing, man, to kill some free time. And Vincent, we already did an hour, man. That's it. An hour's up.
Are you kidding me?
That's how much we love you, man. It just flies by. Find Vincent Mendoza. It's just Vince Mendoza or Vincent Mendoza on Facebook.
On Facebook, it's the real Vincent Mendoza.
The real Vincent Mendoza. Hey, Vince, stay on the line, man. I have to do a plug real quick, and I have some crazy things to tell you off the air. Thanks so much, dude. You were awesome.
Love you both, guys.
Vincent Mendoza. Man, I love that guy. On August 7th at 6:30 p.m., we'll be performing our Magic and Illusion show at Goochland County Parks and Rec. For tickets, go to goochlandva.us or call 804-556-5854. And tonight on Jewel TV, they're airing episode 15 from season 2 called Getting to the Show is Half the Battle. Jewel TV is on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, the Jewel TV app, and tons of other places. It's in over 100 million households. All you have to do is look for it. See you next week. Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Express Copy and Graphics. Mention promo code Wes Iseli to get 10% off. Their website is expresscopy.com. That's XPRESS-COPY.com. They do it all. Copies, banners, signs, vehicle wraps, promo items, practically anything you need printed, they can do it for you. These guys are great. Check them out. Check us out online at wesisley.com and patreon.com/Wes_Isley for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled Wesiseli.